when the past collides with the present. The rain fell in heavy sheets, drumming against the roof of the small diner on the outskirts of town. Inside, Emma sat alone at a corner booth, staring at her coffee as if it held the answers to her shattered life. Her hands trembled slightly, the weight of her decision pressing on her chest. Across town, in a dimly lit apartment, Liam was packing a bag with trembling hands, his face pale and his mind racing. Both had made a choice that would change everything, but neither knew how their paths were about to collide. A car pulled into the diner's parking lot, its headlights slicing through the storm. Emma glanced up, her heart skipping a beat as a man stepped out, his figure shadowed by the rain. At the same moment, in the apartment, Liam grabbed his coat and keys, muttering to himself, "This is it. No turning back." 2 lives, 2 decisions, both teetering on the edge of an irreversible moment. Emma looked up from her coffee as the stranger entered the diner, shaking off the rain like a dog drying its fur. His piercing eyes scanned the room briefly before he made his way to the counter. Emma couldn't help but feel a strange pull, as though she knew him. She turned her gaze back to her cup, her fingers tracing circles on the rim. At the counter, the man ordered a coffee and sat down, glancing over his shoulder. His eyes landed on Emma for a moment too long, and she shifted uncomfortably. Across town, Liam stepped into his car, the bag on the seat beside him. He hesitated, gripping the steering wheel, as if debating whether to follow through with his plan. "You have to," he whispered, starting the engine. Meanwhile, in the diner, the man stood up suddenly and approached Emma's booth. "Do you mind if I sit here?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying a strange urgency. Emma hesitated but nodded, curiosity overtaking her caution. "Rough night?" he asked, his gaze unwavering. Emma gave a small smile. "You could say that." The stranger introduced himself as Noah, his voice steady despite the storm raging outside. Emma hesitated before offering her name, her instinct warning her to keep her guard up. Yet, there was something oddly familiar about him, a feeling she couldn't shake. "What brings you out on a night like this?" she asked, trying to mask her unease. Noah shrugged, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Sometimes, running away is the only choice," he said, his words heavy with unspoken meaning. Meanwhile, Liam drove through the rain, his mind spinning with doubts. The glow of streetlights flashed through his windshield, each one a reminder of what he was leaving behind. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a crumpled photo. It was of Emma, taken on a sunny day when they were both laughing, unaware of the storm their lives would eventually face. "I'm sorry," he whispered, gripping the photo tightly before stuffing it back into his jacket. Back at the diner, Noah leaned forward, his expression intense. "I feel like I know you," he said suddenly, his words catching Emma off guard. Her heart raced, but she forced a nervous laugh. "I don't think we've met," she replied. Noah didn't smile. "Don't you remember?" he asked, his gaze locking with hers. "We were best friends as children," said Noah. Emma was perplexed, without reaction, a mixture of uncertainty and fear. Across town, Liam's car came to a stop outside the diner. He turned off the engine but didn't get out. Through the rain, he could see the warm glow of the interior, the silhouettes of customers inside. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on a figure in the corner booth, Emma. His chest tightened, and he struggled to catch his breath. "She's here," he muttered, gripping the door handle but unable to move. Back inside, Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "Why do I feel like you're hiding something?" she asked Noah, her voice barely above a whisper. He leaned back, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Maybe because I am," he said, his tone cryptic. The words lingered in the air like smoke, filling the space between them with tension. Emma's unease grew with every passing second. Noah's presence felt less coincidental and more deliberate. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. Noah hesitated, his fingers drumming lightly on the table. "Because some truths can't stay buried forever," he said cryptically, his eyes boring into hers. Before Emma could respond, the door to the diner swung open, letting in a gust of cold wind, and Liam. Liam's eyes immediately found Emma. His breath caught as he registered the man sitting across from her. Emma froze, her heart pounding as Liam approached. "Liam? What are you doing here?" she asked, confusion evident in her voice. Liam ignored her question, his gaze locked on Noah. "What are you doing with him?" Liam asked sharply, his tone edged with panic. Noah smirked, leaning back in his seat. "Small world, isn't it?" he said, his voice dripping with mockery. Emma looked between the two men, her confusion deepening. "Wait, you know each other?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. Liam clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "Emma, get away from him," he said, his voice trembling with urgency. But Noah didn't flinch. "Why don't you tell her the truth, Liam?" he said, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to Liam's visible anger. Emma stood up, her hand shaking. "What truth?" "Someone tell me what's going on," she demanded. Liam sighed heavily, running a hand through his damp hair. "Emma, I didn't tell you everything," he began, his voice heavy with guilt. "Noah isn't just a stranger. Liam's words were cut off as Noah stood abruptly, towering over the table. "I'm the reason he left you," Noah said bluntly, his words slicing through the tension like a knife. Emma felt the room spin as her mind raced to process the revelation. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Noah's smirk faded, replaced by a look of quiet intensity. "I made sure Liam walked away from you." "He had no choice," Noah said, his tone deadly serious. Emma stared at him in disbelief, her world unraveling as the storm outside mirrored the chaos within. Emma's breath quickened as the weight of Noah's words sank in. "You made him leave me? Why? What could you possibly gain from that?" she demanded, her voice trembling with both anger and confusion. Noah crossed his arms, his face devoid of remorse. "It wasn't about gain," he replied coldly. "It was about protecting you from him." He gestured toward Liam, whose face was pale with shock. Liam stepped forward, shaking his head. "That's not true, Emma," he said urgently. "Yes, I left, but it wasn't by choice. Noah blackmailed me. He threatened to destroy everything I cared about if I didn't stay away from you." His voice cracked with desperation, his eyes pleading with Emma to believe him. Emma looked between the two men, her mind racing to piece together the puzzle of their twisted connection. Noah let out a bitter laugh. "Of course, he'd say that. He'll do anything to look like the victim, he said, his tone dripping with disdain. But ask yourself this, if he really loved you, why didn't he fight for you? Why was it so easy for him to leave? Emma's eyes welled with tears as the conflicting stories tore at her heart. The room seemed to close in around her, the air heavy with tension. Emma took a deep breath, steadying herself. Enough, she said firmly, her voice cutting through the storm of accusations. I don't care what your reasons were. Both of you took away my choice. You decided what was best for me without ever asking how I felt. That's not love, that's manipulation. Her words hung in the air, silencing both men. For the first time, Noah's confident demeanor faltered, and Liam's shoulders slumped under the weight of her words. Emma grabbed her coat and purse, her resolve firm. I deserve better than lies and secrets, she said, heading toward the door. As she stepped out into the rain, she felt a strange sense of relief. The storm outside no longer mirrored the chaos within her. Weeks turned into months, and the memory of that stormy night began to fade. Emma moved to a new city, far from the ghosts of her past. She found solace in simplicity, working at a small bookstore and spending her free time rediscovering who she was. For the first time in years, she felt free, not just from Noah and Liam, but from the need to define herself through others. One afternoon, while sorting through books on a shelf, Emma stumbled upon a title, The Weight of Choices. Intrigued, she flipped through its pages, finding a passage that seemed written just for her. Our lives are shaped not only by the choices we make, but by the truths we choose to embrace. She closed the book, a small smile playing on her lips. The storm had passed, and though the scars remained, they were a testament to her strength. And in that small bookstore, surrounded by stories of love, loss, and redemption, she began to write the next chapter of her life. Noah and Liam never crossed paths with Emma again, but both were changed by that night. Noah, for the first time, confronted the damage his obsession with control had caused. Liam, on the other hand, learned that true love isn't simply about being there, but about fighting for what matters, even when it's hard. Emma, however, moved on, taking with her the lessons of that night, the value of honesty, the power to make decisions for oneself, and the freedom that comes with forgiveness, not just of others, but of oneself. Final message: this story is a reminder that we can't always control the choices of others, but we can always decide how we respond to them. Emma chose truth, courage, and most of all, self-love. Did you like this story? Subscribe, like, and leave your comments so I can continue writing even more for you.